What do you think about the moon? I don't like it. It looks at me weird. Uh,
Guess what?
huh?
I brought you something. Look!
What am I looking at?
Do you see this?
No, I don't see anything. It's your hand.
Look at this fucking animal.
It looks like a little pill with like a little nozzle on it.
Oh my god, you can't see anything, can you? Today we're talking about the honey badger of the microscopic world, the good old moss piglet, aka the tardigrade, aka the water bear.
Water bear.
Mm-hmm.
Water bear. I only know land bears.
Oh. How are you on the internet and you don't know what a water bear is?
No. I know a little bit about water bears.
Okay.
I know they're very tiny.
Uh-huh.
And they've gone into space.
Is that it?
And they never die.
Yeah, that's just wrong, but they're hard to kill, yeah. So tardigrade is the Latin name for slow stepper. So that's where I know, right? So cute.
Wait, is there a fast stepper?
I don't know. The cheetah. The cheetah's like just stepper.
Just this little bee that's like.
So they're small. They're microscopic animals. And people get this confused a lot of the time, but they are actually animals. They've got 4 sets of legs, and they have 2 eye spots. And the eye spots are really cute because it's just one cell, one tiny little cell for each eye. Aww. It is an invertebrate, but it has a digestive system. It has a brain. It has salivary glands.
Has a little brain.
Yeah. They eat other microscopic organisms. So we were talking about like non-animal organisms. So they eat some of that. And they also eat each other.
Oh no. No, wait, we were talking about these cute things for a little bit.
Cannibals.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Is it like they just get bored or?
No. They run out of food. It's not because they're bored.
So the one thing I know about tardigrades is like they're really hard to kill, right? They like regenerate super fast or whatever. Is that how it works?
No. They're really hard to kill in the sense that they can survive a lot of different extreme environments. So they're what's called an extremophile.
What's the tardigrade's deal? Is he healing? Does he got super thick skin? What's going on with them?
So they can enter a state of anhydrobiosis. You know, like that thing with like Walt Disney where they're like, oh,
he's got a frozen head. There's somewhere deep in the catacombs of Disneyland is the head of good old Mouse Man.
Ew.
Sorry. So they kind of like freeze themselves in a like a non-living state for a little bit. Is that what happens?
So they go into what's called a tun state. So if you kind of look at them under a microscope, their normal state is just fully hydrated and they kind of look like a grape.
Yeah.
And then the tun state's the equivalent of like a raisin. So very shriveled.
Just like looked like a little raisin. And it was oh god.
Water is a really cool substance, right? Because it can really easily separate. And that's why, you know, sometimes you hear water is the universal solvent and you can put pretty much anything into it and it'll help balance it and neutralize it and all that. An oxygen and a hydrogen is called a hydroxyl. And those are really dangerous for biological components because it can attack the other molecules and break apart. Basically, when you have water in your body, your body's constantly struggling to make sure that it keeps that balance in check.
I should avoid water then.
Yeah, I mean, you can overdose on water. That is a thing.
Avoid water
Jesus
then.
Christ. Oh, God.
Like a tardigrade.
Chocolate covered raisin.
Okay, I'm back.
Oh, okay. Did they let you out of the vacuum bag?
Yeah.
If you're in a really extreme environment, like these tardigrades often are, like let's say in the vacuum of space or something, then it's safer for them to go into a dehydrated state and remove that extra danger. So they basically try and get rid of all the water. When they sense that they're in a better environment, they rehydrate and they go back to their, active state.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is so cool. It's like hibernation, but more extreme.
Yeah, kind of. It's very similar to hibernation, and we're not quite sure the mechanisms that allow that anhydrobiosis, but definitely they have something going where they're able to go in and out of that state. And that's typically the ton state, that raisin state, that's typically what they're in when they're surviving these really high amounts. And like when they're in their normal plump state, they're a lot more sensitive. It's a lot easier to kill when they're plump. How much do you know about radiation? Because that's kind of...
it's radiation causes cancer. And it's like lasers and microwaves and...
Radiation can be thought of as little packets of energy that are so powerful they can break DNA strands. When we're talking about biology, so much of it is dependent on your DNA. So that's the precious molecule that you want to protect. And so radiation is just something that every animal on Earth is exposed to, whether it's from the sun or from different types of minerals, release radiation into the air. And so all organisms, well, I shouldn't say, most organisms have a system of repairing DNA that is specifically geared towards the types of DNA damage you would get from radiation.
So we're constantly being... The way I'm looking at this is everybody is constantly being pelted by those little plastic balls in those play pits. And they're so tiny and they're so little and they do little bits of damage every time, but it's so small and incremental that we don't notice right now. But our body is like, there's like tiny damage happening all the time. Let's constantly be like building ourselves to resist the tiny ball pit balls.
What's cool about tardigrades is, so they also have this mechanism built in. So it's called DNA repair, you know, unsurprisingly. But they also have another mechanism, so DNA damage mitigation. So basically they said, I think it's lame that I'm only going to repair the DNA damage after I get the damage. And instead, I'm going to also prevent that damage in the first place.
Little armor.
Yeah.
Little ball pit armor.
Yeah, tardigrades would have definitely been bullies.
Hey, loser.
And they come with a cannon. with a yoga ball in there. What's really cool about this strategy is they can survive a lot of radiation exposure. And when I say a lot, I mean about 1,000 times more than what a human can withstand. Which is more than an atomic bomb. So radiation can be measured in what's called a gray. A human can withstand maybe 5 gray. A typical lethal dose for a tardigrade is anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 gray.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's a lot of ball pits.
Yeah. So they have a protein that's called Dsup, short for damage suppressor protein. This protein, if we put it into human cells, actually makes human cells a lot more radiation tolerant. So basically, we get a little bit of their armor as well.
You crush some tardigrades up. You make some tardigrade soup, and then you just slather it on your face. You're telling me I can make an SPF 5 million? Is that... Wait, no, that's not how science works.
I mean... Trying to make a tardigrade protein that can be put into like a salve or a ointment. So that is something they are trying to do. Not these scientists, but other scientists are trying to do it. And basically a lot of research is being done right now to look at, can we somehow use this protein? And so one thing they're trying to do is, one, isolate the protein and make that into a treatment, but also can we actually put this into people and have them make it?
To live forever. Tardigrade man with the power of...
I would read that comic. Ant-Man, get out of the way. It's Tardigrade man.
Move off, Spider-Man. It's time for Tardigrade man.
I like Tardigrade lady better.
Lady.
There needs to be more ladies.
Tardigrade. Tardigrade with the power of really slow steps and living forever.
Yeah, she never actually fights anyone because by the time she gets to the battlefield, it's all over.
Face, and she's like, uh-oh, time to use my tardigrade powers, and then turns into like a little raisin.
Scientists want to use the tardigrades to potentially treat people who have high radiation sensitivity. So that's, you know, Vlad the Impaler. Do you know who that is?
Yeah, the guy that stuck sticks at people's butts.
Yeah, and they
killed
thought
them.
Yeah, and they thought he was the first vampire, right? Because so one, he's violent, obviously, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then one of the things with vampires they always say is they can't go out in the sun, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we know that the sun gives off radiation,
Mm-hmm.
and so there is a type of mutation that causes really extreme sun sensitivity, and the disease is called ataxia telangiectasia. Try saying that 5 times fast.
I just got tingles. That should be ASMR.
Ataxia telangiectasia.
Ataxia telangiectasia.
In a really extreme form of this, if you go out into the sun, you have really severe sun reactions.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like what we normally say a vampire's reaction to sunlight would be, with really extreme skin getting angry, possibly the skin even dying
Mm-hmm.
in response to the sunlight. So they actually think historically that Vlad might have had ataxia telangiectasia on top of being so violent, and that's where they think the myth of vampires came from.
Ooh, they were just sensitive to radiation.
Mm-hmm. Your stomach has a really high turnover of cells.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a little bit similar to cancer, because cancer has an incredibly high turnover of cells. So
Mm-hmm.
cancer is defined as uncontrollable growth.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have chemotherapy or radiation therapy or some form of treatment that
Mm-hmm.
targets, typically those treatments target a really fast turnover of cells, because that's the key piece of cancer, is how quickly it divides.
Mm-hmm.
So then cancer patients, when they get chemotherapy or radiation therapy, often they get nausea because their stomach cells also start dying off, and you start wearing off the lining of the stomach, which obviously doesn't feel good.
Oh no.
Right. And so there's some argument that if we could use Dsup to treat people's stomachs or their digestive tract before they get chemotherapy or radiation therapy or anything that's sort of harmful, and
you can keep your stomach when you get radiation treatment.
Yeah, exactly. So you
like
can...
a little shield, like a little armor.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Chris.
Yes?
You're going to space.
Finally.
What are you worried about?
Everything. Loneliness. Breathing. Getting blasted by the sun. The moon men.
The moon. Cousin to the lizard people, yeah. There is a lot of radiation in space.
Mm-hmm.
This is called cosmic radiation. And there's so much research at NASA, for example, is dedicated to making sure that astronauts are protected from radiation.
Mm-hmm.
And so we actually used tardigrades as models for that. So there was this project where they took a bunch of tardigrades up into space, and then it came back and it crashed. So they were lost. But so what's interesting too is that there might actually be tardigrades on the moon, because they can survive the vacuum of space, and they're pretty much everywhere. So they could have been on the space missile. Oh no.
The moon men.
Oh god. The moon men and their pets.
They're here. That's how they made it to That's how they made it to the moon. Well, I learned a lot about tardigrades. Can you get out of my house, please?
Okay, but I'll be back next week.
Wait, no.
Bye. Smoke bomb, smoke bomb.
Get out.
So as you know, I did my master's on radiation and tardigrades. And one of the scientists I found myself looking at a lot and citing often was Dr. Daiki D. Horikawa. So he's a really brilliant tardigrade scientist, obviously. But he's also on Twitter, and it's at Daiki D. Hori. And he publishes these adorable tardigrade science emojis.
Let me see.
And I just,
oh,
all right.
I like the idea of like, because like at the end of the day, like scientists are just like super fans of something.
Yeah.
So your big tardigrade researcher is just some big tardigrade stan.
Yeah.
Who, like talks about it on Twitter.
And I think that's so cool, because I see so often, there's these mainstream areas of science that are a little bit more in the spotlight, but there's a lot of these really underrepresented parts, particularly of biology, that people don't think is as cool or you don't get the joke. But I thought these were really cool because it's just a little tardigrade. I have 3 of them. And here's another one.
Depressed.
And then a little tricky.
That's so cute.
Yeah, I know.
Aww.
So yeah, I just wanted to give him a shout out because it really made my research so much easier when I had the little tardigrades to look at.